Hello, Oracles. How is it going today? Whew, my goodness. We ended up finishing green today, which was kind of awesome. After everything that we had going on, weren't sure what was going to happen with the Jerome Powell thing. He came out and spoke today, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I just kind of give everybody a moment to get on here. So, yeah, definitely a very interesting day for sure. And now tonight we've got the State of the Union address, so we won't be on for too long. I think that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not too sure. I do not have cable, but I may watch it on YouTube. But it's also later past my bedtime, so I might just check it out tomorrow. So let's see what we've got in store for today. Let me see. And looking at the charts, down a little bit after hours, but like we were up 1% on the day. We're still climbing up, but we just cannot break that $200 level. Let me get a share screen going here. There we go. Yeah, I mean, just we're trying to fight that $200 level, and I think that is really kind of where we're stuck right now, is trying to break through that. What's going on, Chadwick? And breaking that $200 level, I think right now is going to take some sort of significant catalyst. I think we have some. Hey, David, what's going on? I think right now, the macro, I think we're probably waiting for the State of the Union address. Jobs market is hot, and we are now just awaiting what is going to be happening. And that $200 level, as Chad was saying here, lots of sell orders up there at that $200 level. And that's really what it is there's a lot of people who, we're seeing that we are overbought. We are looking at the RSI here, we're at 74. And again, it doesn't mean that we have to come down from here, but typically like here, we were oversold and we came back up. Now we're getting to that overbought range. So this is one of the indicators that I see that we are most likely going to be coming down. And some people who are shorting, some people who just do swing trading and aren't long-term holders for Tesla stock say, you know what, $200 is that level that we just have our sell orders in at, and we keep bouncing and pushing that. And there's just not enough buy orders at this level to push us past that point. We need some sort of catalyst. If Tesla came out and said, hey, we're going to open up a factory in Mexico or Indonesia, that might be enough to push us through. But the other thing that I look at on the macro side of things is the velocity of money is still slowing down. The Fed is still, they're still running off their balance sheet. Because the Fed is still running off their balance sheet, that's less money in the market right now. And so there's a lot of big money who still has cash on the sidelines. We see it with ARK, we see it with a lot of other companies out there. So, just having that much money on the sidelines, just waiting. And I had mentioned it yesterday, a lot of people are waiting for something similar to what I am. Nobody knows where we're going to go in the future. So I'm in here, I'm dabbling little bits, I add my daily amount. And so when it looks at big money, sometimes big money either does it monthly or they do it on a quarterly basis. Sometimes they do it at the end of the quarter when they're rebalancing. And that's when they do their dollar cost averaging. So we may see something like this come at the end of March. Now, don't forget, at the end of March, this is going to be when we have the next FOMC meeting. That's where they're also going to discuss what they think the average rate is going to be. Currently, it's around that 5 to 5.25 range. Now, from there, it might go to 5.25 to 5.5, or 5.5 to 5.75. If they come out with that information, there's a chance we see a pullback in the market. So, what's going on, Dominic? What's going on, Karav? So, right now, I'm going to take a look at. Let me see if I can get it up here for you guys. The highlights, and let me see. Tesla Sarge had it up good today. There we go. That's what I wanted. So here are the highlights and the key points from today. So Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said Tuesday that disinflation has begun. He did say that at the FOMC meeting, but it is going to take time. So we see this, and we have been coming down quickly. And my personal opinion is the Fed does want to get interest rates higher than inflation. Right now, it's still below it. But I think with February and March, we may come down to that point where interest rates are around the same level as inflation. And if we get to that point, then we might actually see, like, if we see a 5.9 coming in around this time for inflation, gosh, where are we for inflation? I'm so burned out from everything. If you guys know off the top of your head, just let me know so I don't have to Google it. I just can't remember where we were for CPI last month. But I think if we come down to the point where maybe we're at like a 5.7 or a 5.5 in March, then the Fed may reassess and say, hey, we don't need to go as high. And so, does Herbert have a stream going on right now? Oh man, I should have reached out to Herbert. I love Herbert. He's great. And so, if we see that that's what's going on with the Fed, they may keep interest rates and pushing up higher to bring interest rates down or to bring inflation down. So there's a lot to play out still. And because of all of that uncertainty, that's still, thank you, Karav, 6.5%. So I think, again, if we get like a 6.1 or a 5.9% in February, and then we come down to like that 5.5 to 5.7% in March, the Fed then there can say, all right, interest rates are now on top of inflation, and they can watch it get pushed down. And then as soon as they see, and I don't know what level they would put it at, but let's say they see it come down to like the 2.5 to 3% range, maybe then they start to bring down the interest rates. That still could take some time. That could still take 6+ months to go. So that's one of the things that he's saying where, it might take time. So then markets latched onto Powell's words and briefly turned positive. So I'm sure you guys saw it if you're watching the market today. I know I looked and I was like, wow, market's super green, and I was not expecting that. And then it turned back to negative after he cautioned stronger than expected economic data. So if we continue to get, for example, a strong labor market reports, which we've been seeing, or higher inflation, which we've been seeing steadily coming down, it may well be the case that we have to do more and raise interest rates more than is priced in. So if we end up bringing down, interest rates, so right now if the interest rate, oh God, sorry. So right now, if it priced in right now is like a 5.1% interest rate, but they have to go higher than that, then we might see the market pulling down a little bit more. Yeah, Dominic, if it doesn't cross 200 by March 1st, I think it'll be after Investor Day, but it could dip after that, a few more days after. So for me, what I'm thinking about is Investor Day is still quite a ways away. That's still 3 weeks away. So if we do not get a catalyst between probably now and next week, seeing as the RSI is as high as it is, if we get a pullback, maybe we just pull back to like 180 and then hover there, let the RSI cool off, let the buying pressure come back in. If we see that, then maybe we do get that push over $200 for Investor Day. We may see a stronger pullback before then. Lots of things up in the air, don't really know for sure, but these are just the things that I'm ready for because we truly don't know. Let me see what else we got going on today. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really jump into everything that's going on. So I am going to hop on Twitter and see what else is happening. Oops. Come on. There we go. Let me see. Tesla Model Y became, get this up here for you. Tesla Model Y became Germany's 4th best-selling car in January. And I know there's a lot of talks, and I do believe it myself. I think we are going to see the Model Y being the best-selling car in the world in 2023. That is my take on it. Let's see. FSD. So this is one of the things that I'm looking at. You guys can let me know in the comments who of you guys out there have FSD. If you have a Tesla, you've got FSD. Because my Model Y, I've got to finalize the paperwork on it. Should be getting that. Right now it's slated between March and May. And I'm not getting FSD for the 15 grand, but I will do the monthly on it so I can test it out. It's one of the things that I want to do is I'm comparing it with my son who has been learning how to drive, and he's just got his permit right now. But being able to compare it with what I know of FSD, and I've been in FSD recently, it was 10.69.3 that I was in. So comparing those two and the progress is really great to see because this is like basically two new drivers, except one of them, the vehicle is driving itself, which is pretty awesome. Let me see. Raymond, Dominic, I expect the price will go up as we approach March 1st and may sell off after the news. Raymond, I thought about that myself, but the time, because it's 3 weeks, if we keep going up, even when we got the awesome Q3 numbers 2 years ago and the Hertz news at the same time, we were only overbought for 2 weeks, and then we sold off after that. You can argue that, sure, Elon selling was the catalyst, but there's always some sort of crazy, unforeseen catalyst that comes in that causes the market to sell off or the stock to sell off the way it does. So again, we don't know how it's going to play out, but just seeing how where we're at right now, I think we could potentially see a pullback and then a run back up after that. That's possible too. Yes, Karab, I'm in an interesting situation. I will learn how to drive in an electric car and gas. I was thinking about that with my son, and every year that goes by, new drivers that come out might just be like, well, I don't need to drive because my car drives itself. And we are very quickly going to, I think, get to generations that don't learn how to drive because they don't need to. We see that in a lot of inner cities, a lot of people in New York City, in larger cities, they don't have driver's licenses because they just use mass transit. And because they're using mass transit, they can, get around wherever they need to. And if they ever leave somewhere else, they can use Uber or friend drives or whatever it is. But we're going to get to generations where everybody won't need to drive because they will have, a car that drives itself. And I think that's going to be incredible. Let's see what else we got on Twitter. Imposters. How many of you guys are over on Twitter? Just curious. I know there's a lot more people that are going over there, and they've actually we're doing a lot of good things. So I know Elon's working on a lot of stuff over there. So I hope that it becomes better. Like I love YouTube. I love you guys all here, but the comments section is just a disaster, and it's better to communicate with people on Twitter. But I do try to get to all of your comments here still. Yeah, Tesla mega packs. That's a big one for the year. And I've been talking about it previously, and then I just got so burned out from work, I haven't been able to dive into it. But there's a bunch of people out there that do a lot of great work on energy. So if you guys know any as well, definitely share them. Because at this point right now, I do as much research as I can do. But from being so busy and overwhelmed, what I'm trying to do is get some of the best people out there and get their information. And so this way I can share with you guys very good information on energy, on everything else that's going on, just because I haven't had the chance to research it properly myself. Matt Smith, he's actually one of the great ones for energy. So if you guys don't follow him and you're on Twitter, I highly recommend it. I asked Karav, hit 1,000 followers. Congratulations, my friend. Well done. And I just hit 2,500 over there. So thank you guys all for following me on Twitter. And thank you for following Karab. If you do not, please follow Karab as well. He's one of the guys who gives me a lot of the great information about production and deliveries. I'd love to go stand in the rain right now, except it's 28 degrees outside. Oh, man. What a while. Hey, look, I'm live. I'm live on Twitter as well. That's one of the things I love about this is I can be live on Twitter. Let's see what other goodies we've got rolling out. Yeah, this is another one too, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. I expect Tesla Model Y pricing to increase immediately following the Super Bowl. I thought about it, and we have been seeing. Let me see if I can find somebody had it broken down. The inventory for the Model Y. No, that's not it. Inventory for the Model Y is still coming down significantly. So what happens during that time? We end up seeing the prices going up. So I think we're going to end up seeing prices going up. There we go. Oh man, thank you. How's it now? Am I sounding better now? Yeah, it helps if I put the microphone in front of my face. There we go. Much better. That shows how burned out I am. So this is not going to be a long show tonight, but I wanted to get on here because you guys make my day better. All right. Yeah, Karav. Yeah, there's like 5 cars in inventory for Model Y. So it's crazy. As soon as they changed that IRS level, I knew it. So I knew that was going to create it, and that's exactly why I placed my order when I did. I didn't know that they were going to go up on the price as quickly as they did. But yeah, as soon as they went up as soon as they announced the IRS, I got mine right away. So it was awesome. Love you too. Love it. Love you guys. And then here's the Cybertruck. This is my baby. I cannot wait. As soon as that thing comes out, I haven't decided if I'm going to, I think it depends on my financial situation, if I'm going to trade in my Model Y and get the Cybertruck or just buy that outright and get to. When are we going to be filling some gaps? So let's take a look at the charts again here. Let's, unfortunately, we'll remove the Cybertruck, as awesome it is to watch. Let's take a look at, where are we here? Let's get this up here. So looking here, we've got the RSI again at 74. So that's not super high. I'm going to try to go back here. Sometimes this thing flubs on me. But like if you look, oh, here we go. So the Hertz. So this started going overbought on 10/13, and then it wasn't until 11/8. So it was actually longer than, so about 3 weeks we were overbought. And then it came right down again. And we got as high as 94 for the RSI. I mean, so it's possible. It definitely is. But don't forget, this was before interest rates were going up. This was before we knew when interest rates were going up. We still had 0% interest. It was a great time in the market still, but that was like the very end of it. And then here we are, a couple of points here. And every single time we get overbought, we end up coming all the way down to oversold. And so it happens nearly every single time. Here we go, overbought all the way down to 40. And then got a little bit of a bump and then all the way down to oversold. And then here we are oversold, pushing back up to overbought. So this cycle has been repeating itself. And again, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but just looking at history and how the stock has been trading, there's a very good chance that we end up going from overbought to oversold at some point in the next few months. We still do not have an economy that is that's steady. It's still an uncertain economy, so things are going to be crazy for a while, and we may come down. And again, you start looking at the things where we're A, overbought, B, have a bunch of gaps down below us. That has literally been the trend for the last year and a half, is we would go into overbought, create a whole bunch of gaps on the way up, and then come back down to oversold and fill all those gaps on the way back down. So, if we're going to be looking at like a weekly chart, weekly RSI is right in the middle at 50. On the monthly, basically the same. So we can realistically push higher on the weekly and monthly chart, and then eventually we're going to cool off. And, we saw the weekly and the monthly both go into oversold. That's when, at that point is when we saw this big rush coming in. Now, if we're looking at the monthly here just recently, we were all the way down here, almost oversold at the end of the year. That was when we were hitting those super low lows. Same here on the weekly. The weekly, we even hit, right below 30. So we were into the oversold range. Then we came up. So sure, we can push higher on the weekly and the monthly, but it's just one of those things that I pay attention to. And again, long term, my gosh, it's just, we're going to be fine long term. So anytime I see these dips, it's like great time to buy. Let me see, get back to the daily here. So I'm really curious as to what's going to happen with the State of the Union address tonight. See how the market's going to react to that. And, I'm going to start looking more closely at the indices as well, because if the indices are showing that we are looking for a pullback, and from what I've been seeing, it looks like we are a little bit overbought in the indices as well. So I think even market wide, especially S&P and NASDAQ, they're due for a little bit of a pullback as well. You don't, Multicam Zilla, you don't think that all the positive news can overpower that. It's just the way the market is. Yeah. The problem is, positive catalysts, and we saw it all last year. Think about all the positive catalysts we saw last year and the fact that we still saw the stock come crashing down all year long. This is the same situation, but interest rates are not going up as high as fast. So we may see it come down, but maybe just not as hard. But again, if we start getting into the point where maybe we're seeing a recession, maybe GDP is coming down, they're talking about a soft landing, but realistically, it's the uncertainty that we have that it causes us to go into this red zone, and we still have a lot of that uncertainty. Just Mo, do you think this growth is sustainable? I think we're really overbought at the moment. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah, it's you know, I love it. I love the fact that we're up, what is it, 90% from the 101 levels, but it's not realistic to keep it this way. You can't be going up at this pace constantly. Eventually you have to cool off. Now, realistically, could we cool off a little bit, maybe come down to 180 and then, let things cool off and then go up from there? Sure. But I don't think in the market we're in that's really realistic. So I do think we're definitely overbought. We're due for a pullback. I just don't know how far down. I use the gaps to help guide me there. So the gaps and the levels. And so taking a look at the levels of support we've got, again, all the levels of resistance on the way up are now support. So this 191 level, which we kind of bounced off of the last couple of days. Below that, we've got this 180 level, and then we've got 167, and then 150, and then 137. So all these levels on the way down, it'd be similar to what we called last year from the 313 coming down. We basically stopped at every level along the way, filled all the gaps along the way. So I think we may end up seeing something similar to that. It's just so hard to tell. Karav. Model 3 wait times in the US and Canada are 21 days. Model Y long range wait times are now 67 days with performance at about 25 days. And that was huge because the performance did not qualify for the EV tax credit. And so now it does. Now, Karav, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing some information about Europe and lead times over there and inventory building up. I don't know if that's just because all of the inventory came off the boats and just hasn't been delivered yet. I don't know how those numbers work. I was trying to go through Twitter and most of the people discussing it also don't know how that works over there. So like if they land, they collect them into inventory. It shows high inventory just because they haven't been delivered yet. So if that's the case, then maybe the inventory levels aren't as high as we think. Willie, I've started buying monthly dividend stocks. I'll use the dividends for future leaps on Tesla. Great idea, Willie. That's I've been doing both dividend stocks and I've been doing my CDs. Now the CDs, I'm using the cash that I'm looking to buy my house with. I figured instead of putting it in savings where I'm going to make nothing, I'll make 4 to 4.5% on that cash. When it comes to my stocks, the cash that I have in there, I have also put it into dividend stocks, but I didn't want to put it all into there because if we do get a pullback in the market, the dividends that I would be making may not make up for the price coming down in them. So I'm kind of trying to play that evenly. So I've been using JEPQ and JEPI for that. QILD was my big one earlier. So I've got a good chunk in there. So I'm switching up to a different ones to diversify a little bit with my dividends. But even then, I have the majority of money and cash still at the moment in my portfolio. Model Y is receiving 4 times as many orders as the Model 3. Yeah, and we're actually starting to finally see the Model 3 inventory coming down. And that's nice to see because once that pricing changed and they went back up on the price of the Model Y, it now separated it from the Model 3 because the Model Y was cannibalizing the Model 3. Not so much anymore. So that's nice to see. Let's see. Yeah. Another 3%, another 3-digit percent return like 2020. Yeah, 100% would be around 245. True, yeah, because the way we started the year off, that would be it. And then of course we hit the bottom of 101. But I mean it's really insane the moves that we're getting. So if you are good with timing markets and things like that, gosh, you can make a killing this year. I'm not one to short stocks.
I know some people are. Some people sell puts instead of shorting the stock because that's a great way to play it, in my personal opinion. So when I can actually do it, somebody was talking about selling covered calls. I'm not as familiar with those because I don't play the options yet, but I know enough about selling puts where it's basically like, hey, right now I put in buy orders. Like I have a limit buy at 125 in my IRA. If I had enough for options, I would do it as a sold put. So I can actually make the money on the premium from selling that put. If we get to 125, awesome. I've now bought it at 125 that I wanted to buy anyway. I already have shares of it. So if we don't hit 125 and we run from there, I still have shares and I've made the premium money. I just missed out on the bonus of getting those extra shares at a lower price because I took that chance. So that's the game that you play there. But it's I don't want to say it's a win-win situation, but it's one of the safer plays as far as I'm concerned when it comes to options. Multi-Kimzilla, what's your guess on the likelihood of 137? I think it's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 75% chance. I know people are going to get mad at me for saying that, but I truly do. Even looking at 114, I think 114 has a decent chance of getting hit. Probably like a 30% chance of us getting down to 114. Yeah, Willie, the dividends, yep. So the JEPI, JEPQ, QILD. There are a few others that others had mentioned to me as well. I'm actually going to make a list of all of them and I'll share them with you guys. Just because it's good to play with some of those dividends. And again, I don't buy most stocks for dividends. That's kind of silly to do that. If you look at somebody like a Warren Buffett, you've got Coca-Cola that pays out the dividends, and he goes with value plays. So during times like this, he's doing great because, well, one, he knows how the cycles work in the stock market. But when you are in all high growth, like many of us were last year, when the stock market came down, we got pummeled hard. But people who saw this coming and took money out of growth and put it into dividend stocks, even if those dividend stocks came down a little bit, they still made a lot of money on those returns for dividends. Maybe it balanced it off. Some of those value plays actually go up during those times that we saw last year. So, Occidental Petroleum, which Warren Buffett got into, did extremely well last year. So you take your money out of growth, you put it into Occidental Petroleum, other stocks like that, and you do well. Obviously, somebody who's been in it as long as Warren Buffett knows where to put your money. But, when you start following what some of these big players like him do and these smart guys do, you can do pretty well with it. And so now you sit here with the dividend stocks, and you can make some money. So like QILD, JEPQ, JEPI, they're like 12 to 15% dividend returns. And so making 12 to 15% in a year where, you're just getting pummeled. Avoid yield traps like ARR, though. I'll have to look into ARR. I'm not sure what that one is. But I'd be interested to find out because, yeah, there's something that you definitely want to watch out for. There's things to pay attention to when it comes to dividends. You've got to look for, what are the maintenance fees on it, because sometimes you get charged quite a bit for those. So is it really worth it to have those? What stocks are in the portfolio? Like JEPQ has a lot of the tech stocks. So right now it was relatively beaten down. Like I started getting into it before we went on our big run, but those are also going to flow with the market. QYLD was also one of them. So I bought into that. It's got Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, Google. So it's got all of those stocks in the portfolio, but that whole entire ETF came down. So I bought it at 22, and now my cost basis is right now over 18, but the price is right around 17. So I'm still upside down on that. I've made more than that in the dividends along the way. But, you still have to pay attention to that movement as well, because if your dividends aren't going to make up for the loss in the returns on the ETF itself, it's not worth it. Eventually, they will come around. So when the entire market turns around, that will also turn around. And it'll be at that point where you can say, all right, now I can use that money to put it into something else that I want to see grow, or just leave it in there because that's also a growth ETF. David Hudson, do you think we will reach 400 a share by 2024? I think so. Let me see. It's all closed down on me here. I'm going to see if I can bring up my price targets for you guys. If I can figure this out and not do it with causing too much trouble, I will share my price targets with you guys. And I did do a if you guys haven't seen it, I did an entire video going over all of my price targets through 2033. And I did just update them, but I don't know if I actually updated my price targets. There we go. Base case price targets. Oh, I did. Beautiful. Excellent. All right, let's get rid of this. I'll bring that up for you. And for everybody who's a member and a patron, I update these on a weekly basis, so you guys can all see them there. So I don't mind sharing them here because I just updated it for all of you guys last week. All right, so here are all of my price targets. Let me see if I can expand this for you guys. There we go. Much better. All right, yeah. So by 2024, I see it at 356, but I think a lot of that is going to depend on when the Fed does pivot. If the Fed right now, this is based off of the Fed pivoting in Q1, late Q1, early Q2 of 2024. So if that ends up happening, then I think we see 356 at the end of the year. If the Fed pivots earlier than that, I think we go up higher than that. So there's a lot of macro involved in this as to whether we're going to see it or not. But I think 400 is a possibility by the end of 2024. Let's see. Recently picked up a 2014 Model S. Tesla service needs to start allowing third-party shops to work on cars. They don't allow that because I know some people like GM and Ford have said that they've actually made quite a bit of money doing service on Teslas. Now, granted, I don't know what kind of service it is. So I don't know if it's scratch and dent stuff, if it's wheels, tires, things like that. But the service centers can't handle the volume. Local one here is 2 shifts, 7 days a week. And I know there's a lot of areas, and I don't know if they have it in your area when it comes to the mobile service. I know my buddy who has his, they just came right out to his workplace, fixed it there. They came out to his house and fixed it there for another issue that he had. So I know that they come out. But how is that 2014 Model S treating you? I was contemplating getting a used one, but for what I'm looking at, I can get a new one. I'd rather like the newer hardware and stuff, just because for me, it's going to be my new real vehicle. Karav, here we go. Here's the answer to Europe. In Europe, I am pretty sure those are cars without any orders assigned to them. This is not a good sign, but it has stopped going up recently. We have to wait to see if inventory continues to rise. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I've heard a lot of people say this. I didn't think Tesla made vehicles that didn't have orders. Now, granted, I know that some orders can get canceled, and that's happened regularly, but I was under the impression that they didn't even make a vehicle unless somebody. I didn't think they made them for inventory. I thought they just made it based upon whatever customers order. Willie, here we go. You can get $18K today if you sell a put for Tesla at $390 strike for June 2025. Yeah. See, I just don't have enough money for options, but it's this is one of the reasons why Tesla is so volatile, because Tesla is a great options stock. And so many people get in and play these options. So it moves that market so much, especially when people get in with margin. Oh, man. I just want the payment to buy stacks of calls for Tesla. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, okay. ARR is a REIT. Yeah, some REITs are good. So REITs I actually do recommend, but definitely look into them because again, if you find one of those yield traps that are out there, be careful. Just because they may not be worth it. But I am a fan of REITs, especially, and I'm curious as to how they're going to play because the housing market is still on the higher end right now, waiting for that pop to happen and having the housing prices coming down 15 to 20%. So I would imagine REITs are going to come down the same. I truly don't know. Because I don't have a REIT right now, so I haven't tracked to see how they follow when it comes to the housing market itself. Here's Mike. Here's my boy. What's going on, Mike? me see. Here we go. Some contrary signals, also along wait times, in Norway and Sweden, but 2 to 5 weeks in Germany and the UK. Yeah, I've been hearing Germany and UK sales have been doing very well over in Europe. Um, so and the other thing to pay attention to is how they're comparing. Like we just saw that in Germany, it's the Model Y is the fourth best selling vehicle in January, and things to pay attention to for long term because I know most of us on here are long term shareholders. So what I look at is obviously regulations coming from a multitude of countries that are out there. Most countries are going to be going all EVs by 2035. That's huge. So that just tells us the sign of this is going to be happening. It's not like this is a fad. This is the reality of the future for us. This is why Tesla is the place I want to have the majority of my money because that's the future and Tesla is leading us into that future. Now, when you start looking at, the news that we've had over the last couple of years, Tesla was like the number one, electric vehicle in this country. Now that news is changing to Tesla is the number one overall vehicle in countries. That is a huge telltale sign to show you just the direction we are heading and how quickly we are heading there. Really? I was up to 116 shares, but I gave my wife another share for her birthday. That's awesome. I love that. That's actually what I do for my kid. I've been buying him shares of Tesla along the way for when he gets good grades and different things. So I buy little bits for him in there. Let me see. Well, yeah, I think that's too low, Tim. The energy business is beginning to ramp. It will make it closer to 450 in 2024. You could be right. I know I have been underestimating energy. Like I think it's going to do extremely well, but I haven't factored in enough. And I'm going to start following Matt a little more closely to start putting more of that into my valuation model. Because I think energy is going to play a more significant role than a lot of people think. And I want to value things properly along with that. I do like to be conservative and pleasantly surprised. So again, my 356 number is definitely going to be, on the lower end, I think. So it'll be nice to see us beat that. So I think you may be right. Maybe energy does come in. That's one of the things I'll track this year. And if energy by the end of this year actually starts making a noticeable difference on the bottom line, that is when we're going to see the market turn around. And you got to remember the market looks 6 to 12 months ahead. So right now, a big focus is on the macro environment. When is the economy going to finally settle so we can begin our true bull run? Jim Cramer says that we're there. I think he's full of hootenanny. And I think, he's playing his hedge fund words out there, trying to get a lot of this FOMO built up. Remember, when it comes to these hedge funds, that's what they do. They are playing our emotions. So they feel the FOMO coming. They feel, all right, we just came out of this oversold spot. People are finally getting excited. Now we're getting to that point where people are excited and buying, but they're still hesitant. Now we need to show these people that, we are on this bull run to start sucking more people's money into the market so that they can pull the rug out from underneath us. And the hedge funds will then short everything and take that money back. That's how it plays out. And, not to say that that's exactly how it's going to be playing out this time, but that is typically how the hedge funds work. And so they're playing our emotions and they want to get us as excited as possible to that point where like, now we're under 200. I want to get in before we break over 200 because once we break 200, we may never come back under $200 again. And so people are going to be buying in now and they're testing to see if there's going to be enough retail buyers coming in to push that up. You got to remember, a lot of the market makers that are out there can see all of these buy orders. They know what's out there. They know what people are willing to pay for the stock. So they know how to manipulate it. Let's see. Oh, that's awesome. The 2014 Model S. Love the car. Found new one with a brand new factory battery. That's awesome. That is rare, definitely. But service has been a little rough. They're making it right though. That's good. I'm glad they're making it right. And I know service. That's good to hear because I know service from the Tesla standpoint has not been the greatest. We have not gotten the best feedback from them. But yeah. Willie, you get 18K, Tim, for writing that. Yeah, I know I would get 18K from it, which is awesome. I want that. This is one of the reasons why I want to play the options. But in order to play the options, the contract, for you guys who don't know options, every contract is 100 shares. So in order to do that, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, because maybe I am wrong on this, but it's a contract of 100 shares. So even buying the 100 shares, I don't have that kind of money to be able to do that, to buy 100 shares. Gosh, I wish I did. I have 57 right now in my, almost 58. Tomorrow I should have 58. I'll have 58 shares in my main portfolio. And my IRA right now has 14 or 17 shares. I got to take a look. I'm not going to go below 11. If we, for some reason, push over 200, I'm going to be putting in a stop loss for 3% on 3 more shares, as I was up to 22, but I did not want to sell more than half. So at that point, I would have enough money to buy 11 shares back at a $150 level, or actually higher than that. But my point is I'm going to be selling 11 with the intentions of being able to buy in maybe 15 or 18 at a lower level. So it's very confusing. There's buying puts, selling puts, buying calls, and selling calls. And so it's very confusing to know, because when you're selling a put, when you sell a put, it's because you want to actually buy the shares at a lower price. So that is what selling a put is. I mean, sell to open a put. Yeah, and that's so you're selling to open a put. It's like counterintuitive when you're talking about it, because when you're selling it, you're actually wanting to get shares, even though you're selling the contract for the put. Willie, oh my God, you guys are a riot. My wife was sick of me talking about Tesla, so I gave her some. Now she asks me about it. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Oh, honey, you want to know what I'm talking about? Here, have some shares. Oh, look, your shares just appreciated 80% in a month. How do you feel now? You want more? Oh, man. Karav, expect a big insurance number out of China this week. I have not seen any ships leave, and production has obviously been going and going and going into the week. Yeah, for you guys who didn't see it, we got this morning, those insurance numbers for last week was 8,900 for Tesla. And as Jess, aka Open Skies over on Twitter, mentioned, while the Chinese holiday technically ended last week, a lot of them still celebrate through the 5th, which was, Sunday. And so this next week coming up should be a very good week, because it's the back to normal week for China over there. Am I going to Investor Day? No, I cannot. So I had just randomly put in for a week of vacation at the end of February, just because I felt myself burning out and needed one. So right before we get into season for work, I put in for my vacation, and then they came out with Investor Day the week after. But my son also had an opportunity to go see a college, so we're going to go take him to see that. So now technically the college thing got moved, because it was on a Tuesday. It's now a Saturday. So I contemplated trying to move it and then going down for Investor Day. But kind of where I'm at right now, there's some tensions going on with my job. So there are lots of drama, lots of stress. That's why I'm kind of so burned out with things that are going on at the moment. Can't get into details about it. However, if you guys see me on here a lot more often, you'll know that I have a lot more free time because of that. So, but because of that, I also want to watch my finances and not be silly with them. And while I think Investor Day would be an awesome investment, it's still a cost that I don't want to incur right now that I don't have to. Yeah, mega packs. This is the one I'm paying attention to, and mega packs are sold out through summer of 2024. So if you remember back to like the Model Y, I mean, heck, Model Y, Model 3, just the lead times on these vehicles. I remember when I first put in my first order for the Model Y, and it was, a 1-year lead time. This is basically what we're seeing plus for the mega packs. So we might even see price increases on the mega packs just because of the lead times on them. Raymond Chen, is an Investor Day an invite only via a draw? It is. Elon hasn't given us any details on that, but there is a lot of people who are going down there. So even if they can't get into Investor Day, it's going to be a huge Tesla hangout either way. So what I'm actually doing for myself this year is I'm not going to go to Investor Day, but I'm saving a week of vacation and waiting for them to announce the Cybertruck release date and when they're going to do the delivery event for it. then I'm going to go down there for that, because that I think is going to be hotter than Investor Day. My personal opinion, who knows? We could get Investor Day and get some really awesome stuff. But knowing that they're going to be delivering the Cybertruck on that day, that's why I want to go down there for that. So I'll save my money and go down there for the delivery event. Karav. Legend has it, Kramer tweeted he was bullish on ups and ups truck blew a couple seconds later. That's hilarious. Oh man. So there's Kramer was out there saying that we're in a bull market. Kramer is out there saying that Tesla is his choice of car manufacturers over GM and Ford. So like if that's not a sign to sell out of your Tesla, now not financial advice. I'm not saying you should sell Tesla, but if anybody was out there wondering if we're at the top when Kramer comes out and says that Tesla is the best, this kind of tells me that, yeah, it's time. Raymond Chen. Megapack currently only 12% margin. It will grow to 20 plus by the end of the year. So I've been hearing so many crazy rumors about Megapack and margins anywhere from 20% to 50% to over 100% because of the battery credits they're going to be getting. You have to remember there's a lot of battery credits. Now, they did say with the 4680s, they are going to be splitting that credit with Panasonic, but that's still significant credits because who's producing more batteries than Tesla? I mean, the Tesla is really it here in the US. So it's them and Panasonic. Let me see. Moose. I see that Tesla Insurance has moved to the UK and Europe. Ooh, really? They've got an office in London and Malta and are recruiting. Ooh, where did you see that? I have not seen that. I wonder if that's new over on Twitter. That is awesome. And as Raymond says, insurance is not significant yet to warrant its own line item on the financial report. You're right. And Zach had mentioned that, but insurance is important from the consumer standpoint. And that is really what their focus is. How can they make the consumer experience better? So one of the things I think about as well, when Tesla says, the best part is no part. So the best service is no service. So for them, they're not the best with service, as we know. But if they can have insurance go out there to get that feedback data to make a car so good that it does not even need service, that's even better because the best service is no service. So while, yes, the actual insurance numbers won't hit that bottom line, it's going to do that underlying operational piece that saves them a ton of money. Do you think Investor Day will move the stock or go over Wall Street's head? I think it depends on how they present it and what they're talking about. If it's something like connecting the dots said, which by the way, I am in the process of communicating with him. I may end up having him on the channel here, which is going to be awesome. If it's like he says, and it's going to be a production process that is going to be cutting costs, and they can actually show how it's going to be cutting costs and give us a relative time frame and say, hey, within a year, we are going to have this out and running, and we're going to be cutting 20% off of our costs. That I think could absolutely move the market. But if we hear rumors about that before we get to Investor Day, we might see the run before it and then a sell the news situation. I don't know if we're going to get any rumors from it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think if it's an operational thing that is actually going to change the bottom line of the company within the next year, yes, it could move the stock. But it also is going to come down to how is the macro environment, what else is going on, how has the stock been moving up to that point? Yes, selling puts is bullish. So when people are talking about puts, selling them is not shorting the stock at all. That's actually a very bullish thing, saying I want to buy the stock at this level. Yeah, Investor Day is essentially also for Wall Street. It is. So I think it's gonna pertain to that. But if they come out and say, hey, here's our Generation 3 platform, we don't have a prototype for it. We're just saying it's going to be for new vehicles that we aren't announcing yet, which I don't think so. I think they're going to announce whatever vehicles it's going to be. I think if they say that, it could be a very good day for Wall Street. Let me see. I got Tesla insurance and it's underwritten by another insurance company, at least in California. So I don't even know what Tesla is making off of it. Yeah, I know there's a couple of states that Tesla is doing their own underwriting in, but not many. And again, they're not in a lot of states. So this is going to continue to grow. But even Zach, like he said, it's going to be years before, they even see it affect the bottom line, if at all. Because you think about the small amount of money they're making from the insurance with EVs still growing, energy taking off, FSD about to get solved. I don't even know if they're going to break out FSD on a separate line in the future. But all of that, I think, is going to completely dwarf insurance. So it's not even going to matter. So even if insurance, goes 5x in the next 2 years, it's going to be so minuscule compared to all the other income. Have a good one, Willie. Raymond, all you guys talking about your wives and everything. I don't talk to my wife about Tesla since I am still at a losing position despite recent rally. If Tim is right about the long-term price, she will hear no end of it. This is true. And this is one of those things where you play that long-term hold, and that's what I'm banking on, just like most of you guys, is Tesla is going to do extremely well in the long term. We just happen to be going through one of those very difficult economic times right now, and the stock market's down. It is what it is. But again, these are the times we look back at and say, dang, I wish I bought more. Danny, I'm saving for the gap to fill at 150, but I can't see it going back down. I tell myself the same thing, but then I remember I said that to myself when we hit $1,000, and I didn't think we would go below that. So at this point, I have to look back and say, what did I learn from last year? When I tell myself that I don't think it could go that low, guess what? There is a chance that it could go that low. So just like you, I'm saving for gaps down below, and I'm just going to wait and see how it plays out. But again, this is why I also add every day. So for me, I hedge it on both directions. So again, I add my $25 every day. So if we don't pull back, I'm still adding. So I'm good to go. But I'm saving that cash up. So if we do pull back, I can add more. That's the way I hedge as a little guy, because I don't short and I can't play options. Let's see, Karav. My explanation to why UK and Germany wait times are short, the majority of ships are arriving there, and combined with Giga Berlin production, this means there's a ton of supply available. It's a great point. Because, the ships, that's true. And if the ships are going to the UK, because it's two different ones, because the UK has the right-hand drive. So, that's one thing I really wish we would get information on is, right-hand drive. And that's another reason why I think that Indonesia is going to be where they start building the next factory, because I think they're going to have a right-hand drive only factory. It would just make a lot of sense for efficiency purposes. Karav, do you know, this could also explain why Sweden and Norway wait times are long. Production is not being sent there at the moment. Do you know where the ships actually come into? This is not something I know. So maybe you know that. I'm not sure what ports the ships come into. Let me see. Will Tesla hit over 200 this week? It's been trying. It really has been trying. I think the State of the Union tonight might make a difference in the entire market, but we need some sort of catalyst that's going to push us back there. It's that 197 level we cannot push past. Oh, what? My TV going out. Crazy back there. Raymond Chen, the best insurance is no insurance. Future Tesla cars will never crash. That is another valid point. If you make a car that isn't going to crash, then you don't need to worry about insurance either. Yeah, right-hand drive. So Australia, UK are the biggest. We've got Indonesia, Japan, I believe, is right-hand drive. A while back, we had done a full list of all the countries that are right-hand drive, and there's more than I thought. So it's significant enough to where if they had a factory like in Indonesia, because then they could supply Japan, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand. Is New Zealand right-hand drive? I think so. So, they can do all of these countries, right out of there, and that could be their export hub coming out of Indonesia and shipping that all over. So, and then I know there's most likely going to be there's going to be a gigafactory or a micro factory in the UK that will produce just for there. That would make a lot of sense too. Mike, I'm already saying, dang, I should have bought more when Tesla was at 108 recently. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of upset. I was buying a lot well below 110. Like I added heavier at, I think 110 and 108, but I was saving a bigger chunk of cash for $100. And I had my buy order in for 100 and it hit 101, but I was busy working. So I didn't have a chance to just switch it and just get to 101. Cause I'm like, what's a dollar difference? I don't care. I'll take the 101. Um, but at the time, I did think that we were going to dip below 100. So we didn't get there. Whether we're going to get there or not, I don't know. If the Fed screws up and we end up getting a deep recession for whatever reason, maybe we do see deeper. Yeah, and Charles makes a great point. So FOMO going to hit at 300 plus for those who waited for 60. So I don't think we're going to hit. I think we're definitely, based upon the charts, it's kind of plain and clear that we're gonna pull back before we go up to 300. It's just a natural progression of things. But how far back we pull, I don't know. That is really going to be determined by a lot of different factors. Seeing all the gaps below us again, we could pull back to that 114 level. Pulling down to 60 is going to take something massive. But things that we have brewing right now, think about when we pulled back in 2020 with COVID. We didn't see that coming. It happened. Boom. Everything fell apart. So at this point right now, we could have Russia-Ukraine escalates a lot hotter than it is showing in the media right now. And you have to remember that what is the media portraying it? And you guys are from around the world, so you can let me know what it's looking like in the media for you guys in your areas. But here in the US, don't really hear much about it. Like you hear about some things here and there, but nothing major. But what has changed over there? We don't know. But if the media was portraying it heavily before, but it's still going on and sounds like it's actually worse now than it was before, why are we not hearing about it in the media? And so that's one of those things that kind of plays around with, are they just waiting for a sentiment swing to then just be like, oh, here's US, Ukraine, Russia tensions are building. We've got US and China tensions are building because of this balloon that's floating overhead. We haven't seen a lot of that really come out and play yet. So are they waiting for something to put this out to really just pound us back down in the other direction? I don't know. So this is one of those sentimental market maker moves that I'm waiting to see if it's going to happen or not. Raymond, great point. In a few years, there will be no distinction between right hand or left hand drive. Tesla will be no hand drive. So I thought about that as well. When you're looking at FSD and what they need to do for FSD right now, and why Elon is like, well, robotaxis are going to be the future, and it's easier to make them, and it's going to be a lot less. It's a lot more cost effective. When you remove the steering wheel, think about the fact that you've got wheels that with FSD have to move a steering wheel unnecessarily. Like realistically, when you have a car that's going to drive itself and you don't need a steering wheel, you don't need a steering column, you don't need all of the different pieces that are going to attach to that steering wheel to the steering column. Your wheels are just going to turn itself. That's it. Very simple. So a lot less parts, a lot less cost that goes into it, faster to produce. That is going to be the huge difference. And you're absolutely right, Raymond, because we're going to have that point where there's no wheel drive. It's going to drive itself. And, there's a lot less things that are going to go into it. Yes, Moose. Things have gone quiet in the UK front here. News now focusing on the Syria earthquake. Yeah, Syria and Turkey. If any of you guys are over there or close to it, please let me know. I got one of my previous coworkers last August moved to Hungary, so I've got to reach out to him and see how close he was to all of that. But that's scary stuff over there, and I feel for everyone. From what Elon has been saying, I don't know about Syria, but he said Turkey, the government does not allow Starlink to be there yet. So he's like, if they allow it, we'll ship them immediately. SpaceX will get them over there immediately. Yeah, that's not pleasant to go over there. So yeah, that's definitely as we've been seeing as well in the news here. All right. Well, folks, we are pushing an hour. I am absolute toast, but I love coming on here. I'm actually probably going to be doing more live streams with you guys in the evenings. So let me know if you guys want it as well, because I love having our chats and discussing things. It's easier for me to be able to do this as well than do all the editing. Because I love this interaction. It's so much better than just me talking to myself and then trying to get to you guys in the comments. So otherwise, you guys are awesome. I will see you guys all later. I'll try to put something out in the morning for you if we get any new news. And otherwise, you guys are the best. We will see you later.